Let's be brutally honest, stupidity isn't just low intelligence. It's about trends in behavior that make a man trapped, weak, and blind to his own imperfections. And the most horrible part? A complete stupid man doesn't even know he's stupid. He continues making the same mistakes. He does not want to learn. And rather than taking accountability, he blames other people for his problems. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life, and you will call it fate." In simple terms, the stupid man stumbles through life blaming bad luck, situations, and other people, never knowing that his own blind spots are the cause of his agony. This is the essence of stupidity. A stupid man lets his worst habits dominate his life. And rather than recognizing them, he feels it's just the way circumstances are. He's not in control. He's on autopilot, repeating the same unhealthy patterns again and again. But here's the reality: stupidity is a choice. And if you don't recognize and eradicate these habits, you can be making the same decisions without ever realizing it. If you want to avoid becoming that man, or if you want to recognize these attributes in other people, then listen attentively. Here are 6 unmistakable signs of a stupid man. 1. He believes he knows everything. Nothing screams stupidity more than a man who does not want to learn. A stupid man thinks he already knows all the answers. He never questions his own reasoning, never seeks new insight, and never admits when he's wrong. Rather than evolving, he clings to his unnecessary beliefs as if they are unchangeable facts. Carl Jung once said, "Thinking is difficult. That's why many individuals judge." This kind of man will argue about things he knows absolutely nothing about. He will ignore advice from those who are wiser than him. He will laugh at new ideas, calling them worthless or wrong just because they challenge what he already believes, digging down on their own stupidity. Rather than evolving, they remain stagnant. There's a genuine psychological explanation for this: the Dunning-Kruger effect. This phenomenon explains why those who have low ability in a subject often underestimate their competence, while highly intelligent people acknowledge how much they still don't know. A stupid man gets caught in this illusion of knowledge. He believes he's a professional because he watched one YouTube video. He thinks he knows politics, economics, and psychology better than qualified experts. He behaves as if his personal experiences represent a universal fact. But in reality, his ignorance is so profound that he doesn't even realize it. Here's how this mindset destroys his life. He stops evolving. Since he feels he already knows everything, he never tries to gain more knowledge. He pushes others away. No one respects a man who is arrogant but uninformed. He makes others lose interest in talking to him. He makes horrible choices without the capacity to understand his own blind spots. He continuously makes the same expensive mistakes. He stagnates in his occupation. People who refuse to learn get left behind. They don't learn new skills. They don't adapt, and they end up stuck in the same position for years. 2. He never takes responsibility. A stupid man never lacks an excuse. His terrible decisions. He was tricked. His lack of success. The world has turned against him. A stupid man never accepts his mistakes. When anything goes wrong, he blames misfortune. If he fails, he blames the world, his employer, his family, anyone except himself. When his relationships collapse, he claims women are the problem rather than looking in the mirror. He lives in denial since taking responsibility would mean admitting that he is the reason why his life is not getting better, and it's too uncomfortable for him to deal with. Responsibility is a trait of maturity and intelligence. A man who cannot accept his mistakes is a man who cannot improve or progress. A foolish guy sees himself as a victim of life's circumstances instead of a creator of his own life. When he's broke, it's because the system is compromised. If he's out of good shape, it's because he has lousy genetics. If his occupation is going nowhere, it's because his employer is out to get him. He tells himself that everything is beyond his control. But here's the painful reality: people will do anything, regardless of how ridiculous, to avoid facing their own souls. And that's exactly what a stupid man does, he runs from himself. Rather than facing his shortcomings, he creates a barrier of excuses to preserve his fragile ego. What happens when a man refuses to take accountability? He gets stuck in the same situations for many years. He loses respect from others because people notice his excuses. He never develops because progress needs accountability. And most terrible of all, he loses control over his own life. Because here's the brutal reality: if you keep blaming other people, you're giving them control over you. The moment you say, "It's not my fault," is the moment you give up your capability to change. 3. He cannot control his emotions. One of the obvious signs of a stupid man is his inability to control his emotions. Stupid men are truly controlled by their emotions. He reacts rather than responds. He allows his emotions to determine his actions, frequently making reckless decisions that lead to regret. Rather than handling issues with insight and calmness, break down or run away. Take for example, the hothead. He erupts in anger at the little inconvenience, whether it's traffic jam, a delayed reply to his text, or somebody disagreeing with him. He thinks this makes him seem strong, but in reality, it exposes his weaknesses. The overreactor, each minor issue feels like the end of everything. Rather than looking for solutions, he falls into frustration or feeling sorry for himself. The impulse-driven man, he reacts without thinking, spending wildly, quitting employment out of anger, and saying phrases he regrets in disagreements. His emotions dominate him, not the other way around. Carl Jung warned about the power of the unconscious mind, saying, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate." For men who lack control over their emotions, their unconscious reactions determine their future. They don't think, they don't strategize, instead, they just react. And then when situations go wrong, they blame everything except themselves. They confuse aggressiveness for strength. They think screaming the loudest makes them right. But the truth is, a man who cannot control himself is weak. A man who cannot control his emotions will constantly be controlled by others. He is easily manipulated since anybody who understands how to push his buttons can control him. He will also be controlled by events. He's unstable since his mood is influenced by factors outside of his control. Then he will be controlled by his own thoughts. He sabotages his own successes, relationships, and opportunities because he reacts emotionally rather than logically. 4. He chases pleasure instead of discipline. A stupid man is a slave to his instincts. He prefers comfort over challenge. He looks for distractions rather than progress. He engages in momentary pleasure, overlooking long-term implications. Rather than establishing something meaningful, he spends his time hunting for cheap dopamine hits, meaningless distractions, poor meals, endless scrolling, alcohol, illicit substances, or superficial relationships that leave him empty. This is the route of self-destruction. Carl Jung believed the human mind is a battleground between our higher self and our lower self. When a man continually seeks pleasure, he is allowing his lower self, his most primal, undisciplined desires, to control his life. Stupid people live for pleasure, but intelligent people make investments for the future. In simple terms, a man who does not control his desires becomes a prisoner to himself. Society has made it easier than ever to be stupid. We live in a society that provides quick remedies for everything. Bored? Scroll endlessly on social media. Numb yourself with drink or drugs. Swipe right and hook up with strangers. Uninspired? Play video games and pretend to be successful rather than putting in real work. Every moment, weak men prefer these cheap dopamine pleasures over discipline. And what happens? Their dreams remain dreams. Their bodies grow weaker. Their thoughts become lazier, and they wake up many years later, wondering why they never became the person they wanted to be. A stupid man asks, "What feels good right now?" An intelligent man asks, "What will make my future greater?" Stupid men spend time on short-term pleasure. Intelligent men invest time in self-development. The idle fool watches Netflix all day long. The intelligent guy improves his skills, works out, and enhances his mind. The helpless fool spends his money on parties and useless things. A wise man saves, makes investments, and generates wealth for his future. The irresponsible fool moves from one casual relationship to the next. The smart guy builds genuine connections and finds a partner who lifts him. 5. He associates himself with fools. A man's circle of friends says everything about him. It's a mirror that reflects his future. Look at the people a man chooses to spend his time with, and you will know exactly where he is heading. A stupid man makes the mistake of associating himself with the following people: negative thinkers, those who continuously complain, blame, and see problems rather than solutions. Lazy people, those who waste time on distractions rather than establishing a meaningful life. Yes men, friends who never challenge his bad actions, never call him out, and always tell him what he wants to hear. A stupid man fears development. He doesn't want to feel uncomfortable, so he avoids those who are more intelligent or more successful than him. Why? Because such people force him to confront his own imperfections. A weak man avoids discomfort, a strong man accepts it. Rather than being the most ignorant guy in a room full of smart minds, he would prefer to be the smartest person among fools. It enhances his ego, yet it cripples his progress. Carl Jung believed that we subconsciously absorb the actions, thoughts, and energies of people around us. This means, spend time with losers, and you will begin to act like one. If you associate yourself with negativity, you will become negative. Hang around the undisciplined, and you'll lose your own discipline. If a man's closest friends are broke, lazy, and unfocused, guess what? That's his future too.